Ladies and gentlemen, success does not come by accident. It is never a matter of chance. It is the result of deliberate thought, persistent action, and an unshakable belief in oneself. If you seek riches, whether in the form of wealth, health, happiness, or peace of mind, you must first prepare the one instrument that governs all outcomes, your mind. The brain is not merely a vessel for information. It is a broadcasting and receiving station for thought, and what you think about, you bring about. Therefore, if you are to achieve success, you must prime your brain with intention. The foundation of all success lies in a clearly defined and burning desire. It is not a vague wish or fleeting interest. It is a pulsating, consuming want that takes hold of the heart and mind with unwavering intensity. Without a definite desire, the mind wanders, distracted by the trivial and mizzled by indecision. But once a person crystallizes exactly what they want, they have taken the first and most vital step toward achieving it. Desire, when definite and burning, acts like a magnet drawing into one's life the people, circumstances, and resources needed to transform thought into reality. The mind, once given a specific goal, begins to filter the world differently. It becomes alert to opportunities, it recognizes hidden connections, and it dismisses distractions that do not align with the chosen aim. But to reach this state of mental precision, one must be brutally honest with themselves about what they truly want. Not what others expect, not what is convenient, but what stirs the soul. A clearly defined desire must be written down. It must be converted from a thought into a statement, a command issued to the subconscious mind. This statement should not be a timid suggestion. It should be firm, specific, and laced with purpose. It should detail exactly what is desired, by when it is to be achieved, and what the individual is willing to give in return. Because success never comes without a price. The price may be time, energy, learning, effort, or sacrifice, but it must be paid in full before the reward is given. Once written, this statement becomes a personal manifesto. It must be read aloud every morning upon waking and every evening before sleep. This repetition serves to plant the desire deep within the subconscious, which is the true seat of power in the human mind. The subconscious does not argue, it does not analyze. It simply accepts what it is repeatedly told, especially when those instructions are delivered with emotion and conviction. By consistently affirming the desire with feeling, the mind begins to act as if the goal is already on its way, but desire alone is not enough. It must be burning. It must be all-consuming. It must dominate thoughts throughout the day. When desire reaches this level of intensity, it stirs imagination, fuels persistence, and makes temporary failure seem irrelevant. A burning desire transforms obstacles into stepping stones. It eliminates excuses. It gives birth to courage. There will be times when doubts arise, when progress seems slow, and when the goal feels distant. In those moments, the strength of desire is what pulls a person forward. A faint interest will not survive adversity. Only a true, consuming desire can weather difficulty and emerge stronger. That is why it must be stoked daily like a fire, with belief, action, and repetition. A burning desire also awakens other faculties of the mind. It increases concentration. It sharpens decision-making. It attracts ideas and hunches that seem to appear from nowhere. These flashes of inspiration are not accidents. They are the fruits of a mind that has been given clear direction. When the mind is united behind a definite desire, it begins to operate with incredible efficiency. Energy is no longer wasted on uncertainty. Focus becomes natural. Discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a habit. No one has ever achieved enduring success without first developing a clear and definite desire. It is the point of origin. It is the blueprint. It is the inner force that sets everything else in motion. Without it, there is confusion, drift, and disappointment. With it, there is clarity, purpose, and momentum. It is not enough to want to be successful. One must decide exactly what success means to them. That decision is the spark. That spark, when fanned with belief and action, becomes a flame. And that flame, when kept alive, will light the path to achievement. Faith is the cornerstone upon which all success is built. Without faith, desire remains a wish, a fragile hope that withers at the first sign of resistance. But when desire is fused with unwavering belief, it becomes a driving force that transcends limitation and reshapes reality. Faith is not passive, it is active, dynamic, and essential. It is the inner certainty that what is imagined can be brought into existence, even when physical evidence is lacking. It is the trust in unseen forces and the conviction that the mind holds the power to influence outcomes. Faith is not something that most people are born with. It must be cultivated, built by thought and by affirmation. The human mind, by its very nature, responds to repetition. By repeating positive statements of purpose and belief with emotion, one can convince the subconscious mind to accept these ideas as fact. The subconscious, once influenced by faith-laced thoughts, begins to act on them as reality. It starts orchestrating circumstances, aligning actions, and generating ideas that support the belief held within. This is why it is vital to speak one's goals aloud daily with confidence. These spoken words are not for the world, they are commands for the mind. The more they are spoken with conviction, the more the inner belief grows. This belief creates emotional energy, and emotional energy is the fuel that drives behavior. Faith is not simply hope, it is knowing. It is a deep sense of certainty that what is needed will come, that the vision will manifest, and that the path will unfold as long as one continues forward with purpose. Doubt and fear are the enemies of faith. They enter the mind subtly, often disguised as realism or caution. But once allowed to take root, they choke the very life out of progress. This is why it is essential to guard the mind against negativity and reject thoughts that contradict the goal. One cannot entertain belief and doubt at the same time. Faith must be chosen deliberately, just as one chooses what to wear or what to eat. It is a decision, and it must be made daily. The most effective way to develop faith is through affirmations charged with emotion. The words themselves have power only when they are believed. Therefore, when repeating statements of success, wealth, health, or achievement, they must be felt. The speaker must imagine already having attained the goal. This mental rehearsal creates a vivid emotional experience that imprints the belief deeper into the subconscious. Over time, the brain accepts the belief, and behavior begins to reflect the new identity. Another essential component of building faith is surrounding oneself with evidence of possibility. The stories of others who have achieved greatness, often from humble beginnings, serve as powerful reminders that success is attainable. By absorbing these examples, the mind becomes conditioned to believe, if they could do it, so can I. The environment matters. The people one associates with, the books one reads, the conversations one engages in, all contribute to the development or destruction of faith. Faith also strengthens the power of persistence. When the outcome is believed to be certain, the individual does not give up easily. Temporary setbacks are seen as learning opportunities, not signs of failure. This belief in the eventual success keeps one going when others quit. Faith removes hesitation. It silences the inner critic. It empowers decision-making and accelerates progress. It is also important to act as though success is already secured. This attitude changes posture, tone, and presence. It influences others, attracts assistance, and generates momentum. Faith, when consistently expressed through action, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It builds confidence, magnetizes resources, and establishes a mindset that is immune to discouragement. Autosuggestion is the method by which a person can influence their subconscious mind through repeated, intentional thought. It is the mechanism that bridges the conscious and the subconscious, transforming ideas into beliefs and beliefs into reality. Every thought that is emotionalized and repeated consistently becomes accepted by the subconscious mind, which in turn directs behavior, attitudes, and decisions. Autosuggestion is not a mystical concept. It is a practical tool that anyone can use to take control of their mental conditioning and shape the inner dialogue that governs their life. The subconscious mind does not filter or judge. It accepts whatever is given to it persistently and with emotion. If a person constantly repeats words of doubt, fear, or inadequacy, the subconscious will absorb and reflect those beliefs. Likewise, if one floods the mind with thoughts of strength, prosperity, confidence, and purpose, the subconscious will eventually treat those ideas as facts. This is why the daily practice of intentional self-suggestion is critical for success. The process begins with clarity. A person must decide exactly what they want to achieve. The goal must be specific, measurable, and meaningful. Once that is established, a statement must be created that describes the desired outcome, includes a definite time frame, and states what the individual is willing to give or do in exchange. This state must be written down and repeated aloud every day, preferably twice, once upon waking and once before sleep. When the subconscious mind is most receptive, the key to making autosuggestion effective is the emotional intensity with which the words are spoken. Monotone repetition yields little power, but when the statement is delivered with belief, excitement, and feeling, it activates the creative faculties of the mind. The words take root. They begin to alter the self-image. They reprogram limiting beliefs that have been installed over years of negative conditioning. Over time, the person begins to act, speak, and think in alignment with the suggestion being made. Visualization enhances this process. As the words are spoken, the individual must see themselves already living in the reality they desire. They must imagine the success, feel the pride, taste the rewards. These sensory elements add depth to the experience and increase the impact of the suggestion. The mind responds powerfully to images, especially those tied to strong emotions. When the visualization is repeated daily with emotional engagement, it becomes a dominant mental picture. And the subconscious will do everything in its power to make the outer world reflect that inner image. It is important to understand that autosuggestion is always at work, whether used intentionally or not. Every thought, every word, every internal statement is a suggestion to the subconscious. If one constantly thinks about lack, failure, or inadequacy, those ideas become embedded in the mental fabric. That is why many people struggle. They are using autosuggestion against themselves. The conscious use of positive autosuggestion is the act of taking control of that process and reversing years of unproductive mental habits. The repetition must be consistent. Skipping days or treating it as a casual exercise will not yield results. Just as a plant needs regular watering to grow, the mind needs regular nourishment in the form of positive, directed thought. Autosuggestion is the watering of the mind. It is the process by which thoughts are given life, identity, and direction. Through repetition, what was once only a hope becomes a conviction. Confidence is also built through this practice. As the subconscious accepts the new idea, it begins to shape behavior that supports it. A person who once feared public speaking may begin to feel more poised. Someone who once struggled with self-worth may start to carry themselves with pride. These changes do not happen overnight, but they are inevitable when autosuggestion is practiced with faith and persistence. Autosuggestion works best when combined with a calm, focused mind. Distraction weakens its effect. Therefore, it is wise to find a quiet place free from interruption where the daily affirmations can be spoken with full attention. Over time, the conscious effort becomes a subconscious habit. The repeated suggestion becomes an automatic belief, and the belief becomes the foundation for action, results, and transformation. Success never surrenders itself to those who wait for the perfect moment or flawless plan. It favors those who make decisions quickly, act with resolve, and correct their course along the way. A definite plan, no matter how simple or incomplete, holds more power than waiting endlessly for certainty. Action breeds momentum, and momentum becomes the driving force that moves dreams into the realm of achievement. Having a clearly defined plan provides structure to thought, turns ideas into steps, and brings focus to energy that would otherwise be scattered. A plan begins with the identification of a major goal. Once the goal is selected, it must be broken down into smaller, manageable objectives. These steps form the ladder toward the larger vision. Each rung climbed builds competence, confidence, and belief. The purpose of a plan is not to predict every obstacle or detail every outcome. It is to provide the mind with a target and a pathway. It channels attention, clarifies intention, and forces commitment. A person without a plan is like a ship without a rudder, easily tossed by the winds of distraction and doubt. Once a plan is written, it must be acted upon immediately. Procrastination is a silent enemy that steals time, weakens desire, and feeds fear. Action, even if imperfect, has the power to break inertia. The moment one begins moving toward their goal, even with small steps, the mind shifts from hesitation to engagement. Confidence begins to grow, not from preparation alone, but from progress. Each completed task, no matter how small, becomes a deposit into the bank of belief. Plans are meant to be rigid. They are living frameworks that adapt as new information becomes available. If something does not work, the plan is revised, not abandoned. Flexibility is strength, not weakness. The most successful people are those who remain loyal to their goal but are willing to change their methods. They do not become discouraged when a plan fails because they understand that failure is feedback, not defeat. Every obstacle reveals a new lesson. Every detour points to a better strategy. To ensure follow-through, the plan must be reviewed daily. It must stay at the forefront of the mind, reminding the individual of where they are going and what needs to be done next. This daily review builds familiarity, strengthens commitment, and maintains emotional connection to the desired result. When the plan is visible, so is the goal. When the steps are clear, the path becomes less intimidating. It is also important to make the plan measurable. Vague intentions lead to vague results. Specific deadlines, numerical targets, and clear markers of progress help the mind track movement and create a sense of urgency. A person who knows exactly what must be done by the end of the day is far more productive than one who relies on hope and inspiration alone. Measurable goals give shape to effort and convert time into tangible results. Accountability can increase the power of a plan. When a person shares their goal and steps with someone they trust, it creates pressure to perform and encourages consistency. However, the ultimate responsibility still lies within. The fire to act must come from within the individual. The plan is only as strong as the will to follow it. Mental rehearsal can enhance the execution of a plan. By visualizing each step being performed successfully, the mind becomes familiar with success before it occurs. This practice reduces hesitation, sharpens focus, and makes action more fluid. The subconscious mind, once it has seen the action clearly, will help guide the body and thoughts to fulfill that image. Repeated visualization, combined with real-world effort, creates a powerful feedback loop that reinforces belief and performance. Every great achievement begins with a plan backed by unwavering action. It is not the complexity of the plan that matters most, but the consistency with which it is followed. Initiative opens the door, and persistence keeps it open. Those who wait for the stars to align rarely begin. Those who begin make their own stars align through effort, adjustment, and relentless movement forward. No one achieves lasting success in isolation. The most powerful minds throughout history have recognized the need for alliance, cooperation, and shared purpose. The concept of the mastermind is not merely about teamwork. It is the deliberate creation of a harmonious partnership between two or more individuals who are aligned in thought, vision, and determination. When minds come together with unity and clarity of purpose, a new mental force is born, one greater than the sum of its parts. This invisible power multiplies ideas, strengthens belief, and accelerates progress in ways that would be impossible alone. The mastermind functions on the principle that every individual brings unique strengths, perspectives, and resources. When these are pooled in a spirit of mutual respect and encouragement, the potential for innovation and problem solving increases exponentially. One person's insight may trigger a breakthrough for another. One member's persistence may inspire renewed effort in someone losing faith. The interaction of two focused minds generates energy, and that energy fuels action. It becomes a magnetic field that attracts solutions, opportunities, and even material resources. Forming a mastermind requires intentionality. It is not simply gathering acquaintances or casual friends. It is about selecting individuals who are equally committed to their own success and to supporting the success of others. Each member must be trustworthy, growth-oriented, and open to giving and receiving constructive input. Ego must be left at the door. The purpose is not to dominate or compete, but to elevate and expand. The collective strength of a mastermind is derived from its emotional harmony and shared direction. Regular meetings are essential. These meetings can be in person or virtual, but they must be consistent and focused. Each session should allow space for members to share goals, report progress, and seek advice or ideas. Challenges are presented not as complaints, but as puzzles to be solved by the group. The discussion must be purposeful, aimed at results, and infused with belief in the power of each individual to overcome obstacles and move forward. The mastermind provides accountability. Knowing that one will report their progress to a group that expects movement creates a subtle pressure that sharpens discipline. It becomes harder to justify excuses when surrounded by others who are making sacrifices and pushing through their own limitations. This kind of accountability is not rooted in judgment, but in support. It fosters an environment where growth is normalized and where momentum becomes contagious. Emotional support is another powerful benefit. The journey to success is filled with setbacks, doubts, and lonely moments. A mastermind group becomes a source of strength during these periods. The encouragement of like-minded individuals rekindles hope, rebuilds belief, and reminds each person that they are not alone. Celebrations are shared and so are burdens. In this environment, the emotional resilience of each member is strengthened by the collective spirit of the group. Ideas flow more freely in the mastermind. When people feel safe, supported, and respected, they speak more boldly. They dream more expansively. The group becomes a laboratory of thought where ideas are tested, refined, and improved. A plan that one person considers impossible may be seen as entirely achievable by others in the group. This transfer of belief is powerful. It reshapes internal narratives and allows individuals to step into a new level of confidence and capacity. The mastermind also enhances decision-making. When facing a critical choice, having access to the experience and judgment of several minds prevents rash decisions and offers new angles of consideration. This reduces costly mistakes and often reveals shortcuts or strategies that would have remained hidden. The collective wisdom of the mastermind protects and empowers its members, providing a safety net and a springboard at the same time. To truly benefit from a mastermind, each member must give as much as they receive. The energy of the group depends on mutual contribution. When all members invest their attention, creativity, and encouragement into the group, it becomes a dynamic force that propels everyone forward with greater speed, certainty, and joy. The mind is a fertile garden, and whatever is planted in it, whether weeds or flowers, will grow. Negative thoughts are the weeds that choke potential and drain energy from purpose. They are subtle and persistent, often entering disguised as caution, criticism, or realism. But once allowed to take root, they influence behavior, decision-making, and ultimately results. The mind cannot focus clearly or act boldly when clouded by doubt, fear, or resentment. Guarding against negative thoughts is not an act of denial, but one of mental discipline and self-respect. It is the conscious choice to feed the mind with what strengthens rather than weakens it. Thoughts shape beliefs, and beliefs shape outcomes. A person who continuously entertains thoughts of failure will begin to expect failure. Their posture, tone, and effort will reflect this expectation, and they will unconsciously sabotage opportunities. On the other hand, someone who deliberately fosters empowering thoughts will build inner confidence and resilience. They will act in alignment with success even before it appears. This is why the quality of thoughts must be monitored with the same care as one would guard a treasure. The mind will reflect whatever it is most exposed to. Negativity is not always loud or obvious. Often, it comes in the form of quiet self-talk, statements like, "I'm not good enough," "This will never work," or "I always mess things up." These thoughts, if repeated often enough, become part of the subconscious programming. They erode confidence from within and build invisible walls around possibility. Replacing these with positive affirmations is not just about feeling good. It is about changing the inner blueprint that dictates action. Every time a negative thought arises, it must be met and replaced with a thought of strength, purpose, or gratitude. The environment plays a significant role in mental conditioning. People, media, conversations, and surroundings all influence the thoughts one carries throughout the day. Being in the presence of pessimistic individuals can plant seeds of doubt, even in the most determined minds. That is why one must be selective with associations. Conversations that dwell on problems, complaints, and limitations should be avoided or redirected. The same rule applies to media consumption. What the eyes see and the ears hear feeds the subconscious. Music, news, books, and entertainment must be chosen wisely, for they either build belief or break it down. Mental discipline requires constant awareness. It is not enough to occasionally think positive. The mind must be trained, just like a muscle, through repetition and consistency. Journaling, affirmations, meditation, and focused reading are tools that help sharpen this awareness. By starting and ending each day with intentional thought that aligns with goals and values, a person fortifies themselves against the influence of negativity. This practice does not eliminate all doubt, but it reduces its power and shortens its stay. Fear is one of the most powerful negative forces. It paralyzes, distracts, and often convinces a person to abandon their dream before it has a chance to grow. Fear thrives in silence and secrecy. Speaking it aloud, analyzing it, and taking small steps toward the source of fear begins to dissolve it. Most fears are irrational projections, not realities. When met with action and clarity, they lose their hold. Refusing to act because of fear only strengthens it, while moving forward in spite of fear builds courage. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to negativity. It shifts focus from lack to abundance, from complaint to appreciation. By taking time each day to reflect on what is good, valuable, and possible, the mind becomes less susceptible to discouragement. Gratitude creates a sense of sufficiency and opens the heart to joy. It fosters optimism, which is the soil in which faith and creativity grow. Maintaining a daily practice of gratitude keeps the mind anchored in possibility, even during moments of difficulty or uncertainty. Guarding the mind is a lifelong practice. It is not about pretending that problems do not exist, but about choosing a perspective that empowers rather than diminishes. It is about creating a mental environment where success can grow, where the voice of doubt is quieted by the voice of belief, and where the individual remains in control of the most powerful asset they possess, their own thoughts.